My name is Randy Fielding, and I'm the co-founder and chairman of Fielding Nair International.
Students connecting with professionals.
My path was a little unconventional.
A networking system.
We're architects, and we focus on educational facilities from kindergarten through university. I always loved design, I loved art, and in high school I was an art major. Drafting courses didn't interest me so much because the part of design and architecture and art that interested me was a little more on the creative than technical end. In the same line, I wasn't so interested in math, and a lot of people advised me that if you want to be an architect, you better be really good at math. That worried me a little bit. I was okay at it, but it wasn't that fun for me. So I thought, well, I'll focus on art, which I love, and deal with the math later. I went to Carnegie Mellon University, and then that's in Pittsburgh, and then Washington University in St. Louis, and then University of Minnesota in Minneapolis, and then University of Illinois in Chicago. I got a Master of Architecture, finally at University of Illinois. Between the third, University of Minnesota, and the fourth, I worked at Skidmore, Owings & Merrill. What happened is the first job opportunity for me, which is perfect, my perfect job, came about because I was actually not doing what everyone else was doing. I was the least technical drafter, and in fact my professors at the University of Minnesota would say, "That's great, you're so creative, but would you please follow the program?" So, and this was my entire career and school from kindergarten on. I was never quite doing exactly what I was asked to. This happened to work for me because that partner from Chicago was an iconoclast himself. I got a job to be on a team designing a university in Algeria when I was in my early 20s, my dream job. And I did that for a little while and then finished my graduate work in University of Illinois. I worked there for a couple of years, and then I started to moonlight, and I started to do some work for some residential clients at night and on weekends. And after about a year of that, I launched my own practice. Our firm is probably unique. We created a different category of architects, I think, in that we are focused completely on architecture and education. And so it's as much about change and change management as it is about design. 95% of the time what we do is we do the creative work. We help people with visioning, building a common agenda, help them align their curriculum and pedagogy with spatial patterns. Then we design the building in terms of the floor plans, what it looks like on the outside, we pick the colors, the furnishings. So I'm unusual in that. So in the last week, for example, I was with a community in Ontario, Canada, and our focus was we were doing space-based curriculum mapping. We were sharing a conceptual design with parents and teachers and students and superintendents, and we're explaining to them how our earlier meeting a few months ago, where we did discovery work and finding out what was important to them in their community. For example, that happened to be in a poor community, so they had public housing projects. And so part of the message there was, what do you want for your kids, and who do you want to be? And my role, I felt the most important thing was to inspire them and say your kids can do anything in the world. It doesn't matter that you've never graduated from high school. This is a world where kids can actually, they can take a MOOC and they can get a college degree now like they never could before, regardless of your economic status, and that this building and this school can be one of the best in the world, even though right now you're in the poorest in the whole region in Canada. So that led to principles about learning, and then what kind of learning spaces are going to best help different kinds of kids. A lot of architects are interested in design, not a specific category, so they'll do everything, but you have a better opportunity for success to specialize. Advice in general is that I got very little good advice throughout my career from guidance counselors or from professors. You have to take what you're hearing in advice with a grain of salt. So I didn't follow the programs, the curriculums, the advice. And it didn't mean I didn't work hard or observe what the needs are out there or do well. But I think one of the worst, the typical approach in education, there's this traditional, it's a myth. It's some people call it the coverage model. And that is, Learn this stuff even though you don't want to know it now because you're going to need it later. Learn this stuff even though you're not interested now because you need it later. It might be, you might enjoy calculus, but someone else is forced to take calculus when they're 16 or 18 when they're not interested. Hey, it was way better for me to say, I'll take calculus when I need to. So when I was studying structural design, which was more interesting, I learned calculus, no problem. And if you look at the educational theory, what they'll find, it's a very stupid linear approach to say, do something when you don't want to be doing it. Try and do what interests you and work it out that you study the things that you need to when you need to. So the typical order you see in high school, undergraduate school, it often doesn't make sense. It makes more sense to study the things you really enjoy, then you'll do better at them. And find a way to create your own programs when you can, and study the things you're interested when you want to, when you need to, and it works better.